Okay, tonight I'm going to talk about dependent origination of liberation. This is one of the suttas in the Samyutta Nikaya, Nidana Samyutta. Nidana is a dependent origination, constant dependent origination, Paticca Samuppada. It's one of the more difficult topics in the Dhamma. And usually when we talk of Paticca Samuppada, we talk about the 12 links of dependent origination of suffering. But this sutta is a bit special. Instead of 12 links of dependent origination, today this sutta talks about 24 links. 24 links. And it traces the steps to liberation, how we can become liberated. So it's a very important sutta and a bit deep. So okay, this sutta in the Nidana Samyutta is the 23rd sutta. So it's Samyutta Nikaya 12.23. At Savatthi, the Buddha said, monks, I say that the destruction of the asavas is for one who knows and sees, not for one who does not know and does not see. For one who knows what, for one who sees what, does the destruction of the asavas come about. Such is body, such its origin, such its passing away, such is feeling, such is origin, such is passing away. Similarly, perception, volition, consciousness is for one who knows thus, for one who sees thus, that the destruction of the asavas comes about. Okay, stop here for a moment to explain what is this destruction of the asavas. Destruction of the asavas is one of the 6 abhinya, 6 higher knowledges. Out of the 6 higher knowledges, 5 concern psychic powers. 5 concern psychic powers. And this one, destruction of the asavas, the meaning is liberation, attainment of arahanthood. Because these asavas are the uncontrolled mental outflows. Our mind is leaking. All of us, the mind is leaking. And basically, this leakage is a leakage of consciousness. This asavas can be translated as uncontrolled mental outflows. And it's basically the outflows, the flow of the 6 consciousness. The seeing consciousness, hearing consciousness, smelling, taste, touch, and thinking consciousness. So normally these 6 consciousness flows without our control, and this flow is very fierce, very strong, and it's very difficult to stop this flow or even to control it. So that's why it's called uncontrolled mental outflows. For a person like the Arahant, he has completed his work, he still has the 6 consciousness. The 6 consciousness still flows in an Arahant, but it is controlled. It's not like us, uncontrolled. So when the outflows, mental outflows are uncontrolled, we are always thinking. That's why when we are not doing anything, we daydream, we think of this, think of that, as how can say, your tongue, your side, thinking east, thinking west. So this, if continues to flow, it gives us suffering. It gives us suffering because our mind is scattered. Our energy goes out to the eye, to the ears, the nose, tongue, body, and mind, and our mind is not focused. So that's why when we close our eyes, everything is dark. But for the Arahant, whose mind he is in total control of the mind. So in the suttas it says for an Arahant, day is like night, night is like day. When he opens his eyes or closes his eyes, it's always bright. So now this flow of these uncontrolled outflows, if it continues to flow and it's time for you to take a rest and it continues to flow, you cannot sleep, At night when you want to sleep, sometimes say you get agitated over something, maybe somebody says something nasty to you in the office, and you keep thinking about it the whole day, you can't sleep. So when you go to the bed, you continue to think of it. So for you to even fall asleep, you got to switch off this computer. Right? So you got to be able to stop the mind from flowing, at least for a short while, and then you fall asleep. But the moment you fall asleep, what happens? It flows again. You start dreaming, You start dreaming of this, dreaming of that. And depending on your karma, on your on the state of your mind, your dreams reflect the state of your mind. If you're a violent person, when you go to sleep like a gangster, you have violent dreams. And if you're a lustful person, you have lustful dreams, etc. But if you have a very pleasant character, you have a Deva or Devi character, when you go to sleep, it's like Disneyland. So these outflows, it's quite difficult to control. So now, this samsara is here. When the sixth consciousness flows, then you see the world, you hear the world, you smell the smells in the world, you taste the food in the world, etc., and the thinking. So the first five consciousness, the seeing, the hearing, the smelling, taste, and touch, they tell you about the outside world, right? Then the thinking consciousness tells you about the inside world. So the world is here, is in the sixth consciousness. There is no other world than in the sixth consciousness. So to attain Nibbana, you have to stop this outflows. You have to stop this uncontrolled outflows. When you stop these uncontrolled outflows, the tendency to flow is checked. So like for an Arahant, he has stopped this tendency of the mind to flow, so that when an Arahant passes away and the body dies, and the consciousness does not continue to flow, so it does not have a rebirth. So for us who believe in the original Buddha teachings, an Arahant has finished his work. When he passes away, he is no more reborn, not like what the Mahayanists say. So this is why this destruction of the asavas is liberation, because when you have destroyed the asavas, then you have stopped the flow of consciousness, and samsara is stopped, because samsara is the continued working of consciousness. So that's why the Buddha says in the suttas that consciousness is like a conjurer, a magician who makes you see one lifetime as a human being, and if you have been following the Dhamma, the next lifetime you see yourself as a Deva or a Devi. So consciousness is this conjurer. So this destruction of the asavas is liberation. From here you can see why the jhanas are important. Samadhi. Samadhi, when you attain the jhanas, the mind stops flowing. You are able to control the outflows, at least for the period you are in that jhana. If you are in that jhana for 1 hour, then for 1 hour you are able to stop the mind from flowing uncontrollably. Right? So that's why the Buddha says that the jhana, samadhi are the footprints of the Buddha that lead to liberation. Okay. So this sutta says, to attain the destruction of the asavas, you have to know and see. And what is it that you know and see? It is the 5 khandhas, the 5 aggregates: body, feeling, perception, volition, and consciousness. These 5 aggregates are also called body and mind. The first one is body. Then the other 4 are components of the mind, feeling, perception, volition, and consciousness is the mind part. So the 5 khandhas is body and mind. It is not nama rupa. Later books, they say that nama rupa is body and mind. That's a wrong interpretation. It is the 5 khandhas that are body and mind. So because this body and mind you take to be I or mine, or I am in the 5 aggregates, or the 5 aggregates are inside of me. So you attach to these 5 aggregates because you take it to be I and mine. So it is here that the self, the ego, lodges itself. So you have to be able to see that these 5 aggregates, the body and mind, are impermanent. The nature of the 5 aggregates are impermanent. And how they arise through conditions, and they cease also through conditions. That's why here it says you have to understand such is body, feeling, volition, perception, volition, and consciousness, and such is its origin, how it arises through conditions, and such its passing away, how the 5 aggregates cease through conditions. So you attain destruction of the asavas or liberation by knowing and seeing these 5 aggregates that you take to be I and mine. Okay, then he continues. I say, monks, that the knowledge of destruction in regard to destruction has a proximate cause. It does not lack a proximate cause. And what is the proximate cause for the knowledge of destruction? That means destruction of the asavas. It should be said liberation. Stop here for a moment now. Here is the actual series. We begin here, the actual series of this 24 links. Here it says, knowledge of destruction of the asavas is said to be due to liberation. But liberation, just now I mentioned, is actually destruction of the asavas. So what he's saying here is that knowledge of destruction of the asavas, the cause of knowledge of destruction of the asavas is the destruction of the asavas. When you have destroyed the asavas, then you know that you have destroyed the asavas, which is liberation. So here the knowledge of destruction, the cause is liberation or destruction of the asavas. So now we come to the second one. I say, monks, that liberation too, or destruction of the asavas, too has a proximate cause. It does not lack a proximate cause. And what is the proximate cause for liberation? It should be said dispassion. Dispassion. This word, Pali word, is viraga. Raga, we know, means sometimes we say greed, hatred, and delusion. Sometimes we say lust, hatred, and delusion. This word lust does not refer to sexual lust, but to excessive greed. So this raga is the same as lobha. The meaning is excessive greed, strong greed for sensual pleasures, meaning for sight, sound, smell, taste, touch. So dispassion here, viraga, means the opposite of raga. Raga is strong greed. So dispassion is totally no greed, no more interested. So here it says dispassion. Another word you can use is disenchantment. Disenchantment. Another word you can use is no more interest in the world. No more interest in the world. So when a person has no more interest in the world, there's no more fire in him. Then you can see in a way it's like cool. It's cooled down. The fire of lust has cooled down. So it's because his fire of lust has cooled down. That's why he can become liberated. Can attain destruction of the asavas. So the third linga is dispassion, viraga. And then I say, monks, that dispassion too has a proximate cause. It does not lack a proximate cause. And what is the proximate cause for dispassion? It should be said revulsion. This word revulsion is nibbida. Sometimes, other than revulsion, it is translated as wearied. Wearied, revulsion, like a kind of aversion. Aversion for existence, for the world. I say monks that, in Hokkien we say, ya liao. Ya liao. So from ya liao, then you get ling liao, sim ling liao, bo ai liao. So, okay, so I say monks that revulsion too has a proximate cause. It does not lack a proximate cause. And what is the proximate cause for revulsion? It should be said, knowledge and vision of things as they really are. So this is the fifth condition. Knowledge and vision of things as they really are. The Pali is yatta bhutta jnanandasana, seeing things as they really are. Okay, and although it is not explained here, what is it that you see and know as they really are? Although it's not explained here, actually it's the five khandhas. When you know and you see the five khandhas, that means body and mind, as it really is, as impermanent, as because it is impermanent, as a source of suffering, as subject to conditions, then you don't identify with it. Because when you identify the body and mind with yourself, you take it to be yourself, then you attach to it, and it gives you suffering. And this self is not only like my body and my mind, also my son, my daughter, my husband, my wife. So when anything happens to I and mine, like my family members and all that, you suffer terribly. So after you have suffered enough, then one day, and then you think it's not worth it. If you haven't suffered enough, you still want. So this knowledge and vision of things as they really are. These things is actually the five aggregates. Then only when you have knowledge and vision of the five aggregates as they really are, then you experience revulsion for the five aggregates. I say, monks, that the knowledge and vision of things as they really are too has a proximate cause. It does not lack a proximate cause. And what is the proximate cause for the knowledge and vision of things as they really are? It should be said concentration. And this is very important. To be able to see and know clearly, you need concentration. Why? Because the Buddha always says in the suttas that the reason why we are blur, as we say, Malaysians I would like to say blur, is because of these five hindrances, pancha-nivarana. These five hindrances cover us so that we have very low IQ. What is these five hindrances? Sensual desire, ill will or anger, sloth and torpor, restlessness and worry, and doubt. These five things. So you find people with very strong hindrances, their character is base, low, vulgar people, behave like animal. Nowadays you read in the newspaper, sometimes somebody rapes the daughter, rapes the granddaughter. These are the type of people. Five hindrances are very strong. So it will lead them to low rebirth. So when we attain concentration, our mind becomes focused. Just now I mentioned that a mind, when the asavas flow, our energy goes out to the six sense organs, right? To the eye to see, to the ear to hear, nose to smell, tongue to taste, body to touch, and the mind to thinking. So because our mind goes out to these six sense doors, our mind is scattered, so it's not focused. So when we attain concentration, the mind becomes focused, and this you need a lot of training. Meditation is all about focusing your mind. Our mind doesn't like to be focused. It's a kipochi, like to see, like to hear, like to smell, etc. So when we meditate, we train the mind to focus on one object, for example, breathing. So you notice your breath and go in, go out, go in, go out. Continue to notice the breath. Very soon you run away. You run away, go to your office, run away to your home. So you pull it back. So when you pull it back, direct it back to your object of meditation, that is one of the factors of jhana called vitaka. Vitaka. So every time your mind runs away, you pull it back. That is vitaka. And then you keep it on your breath. For example, you are practicing a breath meditation. And you keep it focused on the breath. That is vichara. So if you want to attain jhana, these are the two things you need to use. Vitaka and vichara. Every time the mind runs away, you pull it back. That's vitaka. And then you sustain it on your breath. You sustain it as long as you can. After a while, it runs away again. You use vitaka to pull it back again. And then you use vichara to sustain it on your object. If you keep doing this, maybe after 1 or 2 years, you get a little bit of kung fu. Then you're able to keep it on the breath. When you're able to keep it on the breath without it running away, slowly your mind becomes focused. So when your mind becomes focused, this ekagata, one-pointedness, will start to arise. So when it starts to become focused, ekagata arises. Then piti and sukha comes along. Piti is delight. When the mind starts becoming focused, you're able to focus it. Or you're happy, you're delighted. That is piti. And then you get this very nice bliss that arises. That is sukha. So when these 5 factors come together, you have vitaka, vichara, you have ekagata, then you have piti, and you have sukha. Once you have these 5 factors and you're able to concentrate on your breath without any thoughts arising, that is the first jhana. But in the suttas it says that skillful intentions or skillful thoughts can still arise. Not ordinary thoughts, skillful thoughts in the sense that when you attain this state, then you find, this bliss arises and you know you're entering the first jhana. And what comes to your mind? The thought, I must remember, how to retrace my steps, how I came into this state, which is so nice, which is a concentrated state. I must remember the steps I took to arrive at this. And there only that type of thought that is mentioned in the sutta that you will have not unskillful thoughts but skillful thoughts. Then you continue sustaining it there. Then you arrive at the first jhana. And if you want to go into the second jhana, you have to cultivate this until it is stronger and stronger. And then your piti and sukha becomes more pronounced. Then you are able to let go of your breath and put your attention on piti and sukha. Then when you put your attention on piti and sukha, then you are no more concerned with your breath. Then you are left with 3 factors, piti, sukha and ekagata. Then you arrive at the second jhana. So here concentration in the Buddha's teachings, perfect concentration or right concentration is mentioned as the 4 jhanas. 4 jhanas. Because the 4 jhanas, it is a very profound state. When a person attains the 4th jhana, the breath stops. It's a very deep state and very difficult to attain. It is mentioned in the sutta that the first 3 jhanas are perturbable. They are not imperturbable, still can be shaken. But when you enter the 4th jhana, is such a strong state. The Buddha says is imperturbable. Tak boleh goyang. So that when you attain that state, then according to the suttas, the mind becomes very bright. Whole mind becomes bright, and that is the best condition for knowing and seeing things as they really are. Because at that time, the hindrances dissolve away. No more hindrances, and you see very clearly, understand very clearly. Then you have very high IQ. That's why it's not surprising, like somebody with a very high IQ, like Albert Einstein, his samadhi is very good. You give him a long mathematical problem, he doesn't need a computer, doesn't need a calculator, he just closes his eyes and does all the calculation, and after a few minutes he writes it down. How can you do that without strong samadhi, right? So anybody with a very high IQ will have very good samadhi. So this concentration. So concentration refers to the 4 jhanas. I say, monks, that concentration too has a proximate cause. It does not lack a proximate cause. And what is the proximate cause for concentration? It should be said happiness. Happiness is sukha. Sukha. When the mind is happy, then it can become concentrated. If the mind is not happy, then, like for example, if a person does not keep the precepts, you kill and all that, so your conscience will trouble you, and your conscience troubles you, you're not happy. You're not happy, and your mind cannot become focused. So the necessary condition for concentration is to have a very happy mind. So this happiness, you have to work for that happiness. How to work for that happiness? The basic things like you have to have generosity, dana. You got to be a person who likes to help people. Then you have to have very good sila. You have good sila, you don't harm others. So you don't have remorse. So these are the 2 basic things. If you do these 2 things, then you are happy. You know that you are a proper human being. You are a humane character. And then if you do other things like studying the suttas and meditating, then that is further supporting conditions. So the cause of concentration is happiness. I say, monks, that happiness too has a proximate cause. It does not lack a proximate cause. And what is the proximate cause for happiness? It should be said tranquility. I'd just like to mention here that if you all have seen people who have Alzheimer's disease, what we say, mung tong, low mo liao. Some people, when they are old, their mind is very disturbed. They forget easily and they talk rubbish. Black pet Penang Lang Kong black pet. This type of persons, you find that most of the time they don't have good sila. Because they have done something wrong in the past, that their mind is full of remorse, full of disturbance. So because of that, so their mind is very disturbed. That's why they cannot attain concentration. So that's why you need happiness to attain concentration. So the cause of happiness is tranquility. And this word tranquility is pasadi. Tranquility. A tranquil mind can be a happy mind. If your mind is not tranquil, for example, you have a lot of stress. You are in the rat race, trying to make a million or whatever. So you don't have a tranquil mind, that is suffering. The sutta says, if you don't have a tranquil mind, that is suffering. So happiness is a tranquil mind due to tranquility. I say, monks, that tranquility too has a proximate cause. It does not lack a proximate cause. And what is the proximate cause for tranquility? It should be said rapture. Or this word rapture is piti. A delight is a better translation. Because later books, they talk about piti as though it's a very strong condition. But that is according to later books, like commentaries and all that. In the suttas, it says that this piti is a subtle perception. So this piti, there are 2 types: carnal piti and spiritual piti. Carnal delight and spiritual delight. Carnal delight is the delight that comes from sensual enjoyment, but spiritual delight you attain when a person attains the first jhana and the second jhana, then this spiritual delight arises. There's nothing to do with sensual enjoyment. So this delight here refers to the first and the second jhana. I say, monks, that delight too has a proximate cause. It does not lack a proximate cause. And what is the proximate cause for delight? It should be said gladness. This word gladness is pamoja. Maybe a better translation is joy. Joy. And I say, monks, that joy too has a proximate cause. It does not lack a proximate cause. And what is the proximate cause for joy or gladness? It should be said faith. Faith here refers to faith in the Buddha, Dharma and Sangha. If you have faith from understanding the Buddha's teachings, you study the Buddha's teachings, and then you know that the Buddha's teachings guide you so well that you live a skillful life, then you are very happy that you are walking the right path that will bring you to a good destination. So you have joy within you. I say, monks, that faith too has a proximate cause. It does not lack a proximate cause. And what is the proximate cause for faith? Here it says it should be said suffering. But actually, I add one more link here. It's actually searching. Because when you have suffering, you start to question. Like Ajahn Brahm likes to say, why me? Why me? Isn't it? If you have cancer, people like to question, why must I get cancer? Other people don't get cancer. Why must I get cancer? You have some other sickness, fatal sickness, and then you start to question. Or you pray for divine help and no help comes, and you start to question. So when we suffer, and we start searching, like the Bible says, search and you shall find, knock and the door shall be opened unto you. So you have to make the effort to search. So from suffering, you start searching, you look for answers. Maybe like me, I go from one religion to another religion. Finally, I come to Buddhism. Then I find it very logical, it's very profound. Then I study more. Then I start to understand. Then I have saddha, I have faith. Then when I have faith, I know I'm on the right track. I have joy within me. So this is a sequence. So here, although the sutta does not say, I add in one more link. It is the search. Search that gives you that faith in the Buddha, Dharma and Sangha. And then this search also has a cause, and this cause is suffering. When you suffer, you start to search. I say, monks, that suffering too has a proximate cause. It does not lack a proximate cause. And what is the proximate cause of suffering? It should be said birth. Because this world is a world of suffering. It is not Disneyland all the time. So because it's a world of suffering, because we are born into this world, that we experience suffering. I say, monks, that birth too has a proximate cause. It does not lack a proximate cause. And what is the proximate cause for birth? It should be said bhava. This word bhava here is existence. Sometimes they translate it as being. This is one of the links in dependent origination that makes dependent origination very difficult to understand. For many years I could not understand what was this bhava. Now I think I understand what it is. So when I tell you the secret, you save many years of searching like me. This word bhava means being. What is this being? It is actually a perception. A perception. This perception is I exist. I am. So when you have this perception, I exist or I am, then this being, this living being comes into existence. Okay. You look when we compare ourselves with the tree. The tree has also got a certain kind of consciousness, right? When there is sunlight you will move towards the sunlight, right? So it has a certain kind of consciousness. But it is different from us because it does not have the perception, I exist. Right? So because it does not have the perception, I exist, it does not suffer like us. Suppose you take a parang and you chop the tree. It does not cry for help. It does not consider that it suffers. But if you chop me, I will cry for help. Right? So it is because of this perception, I am, I exist, that a living being comes into existence. That's why it's called existence. It's also called a being. In Chinese, what is the word for being? A living being. Zhong Sheng is one word, right? What is another word? Yu Jing, right? Yu Jing means Wu Kam Jing, Wu feeling. If you have feeling, then you have suffering. If you don't have feeling, you don't have suffering, right? So like the tree does not have feeling. So this is the difference between a living being and a tree. Here I'll divert a little bit. During the Buddha's time in India, there was a general belief that plants are beings, and that earth, the ground, the bhumi, is also a being. That's why if you look at the monks' precepts, 227 precepts, a monk is not allowed to cut grass. A monk is not allowed to chop trees, because they believe at that time that plants are living beings, and they call it one faculty beings. We have 6 faculties, we have 6 senses, but they say the plant has got one faculty, one sense organ. So because of that, now when they saw monks chopping trees, they got very annoyed. How can these samanas, disciples of the Sakyaputta, the disciples of the Sakyan, go and chop trees? So they complained. They spread the word around. So when the Buddha heard, the Buddha stopped monks from chopping trees. But the Buddha did not believe that trees are living beings. But the Buddha believed that inside trees there are beings. These trees are the abodes of tree spirits. You can call them fairies if you like. So it is maybe because there are beings in trees. That's why some people, like olden days Chinese, some olden days Chinese people believe that all trees can become beings. Once they are old enough, they can turn into beings. Why? Because there are certain beings inside there that manifest. For example, you chop the tree unnecessarily, the tree spirit get angry, cause you to have an accident. Then they thought, wow, this tree caused me to have an accident. I must be a living being. So these are all what animists beliefs. Like Chinese, we believe that's tree. Even the stone. If the stone is old enough, maybe it will turn into a living being. That's why Indians, they believe that these trees and ground. That's why ground, that this earth, a monk is not allowed to dig the earth. But in the monk's precepts, it is not a general rule that monks are not allowed to dig the earth. The Buddha said, if the earth contains living creatures, like worms and caterpillars and all that, and then a monk is not allowed to dig to harm these beings. And the Buddha also said that in the earth you have what we call orang bunyan, elves, in English term, elves. Lord of the Rings. The Buddha also believed that there are some spirits inside. So the Buddha said, I have to be careful. But if it's pure sand, a monk is allowed to dig. If it's a new earth that has just been dumped there, also a monk is allowed to dig. There's a lot of stones, no life, a monk is allowed to dig. So you find the monk's precepts that when you offer fruit to a monk, if there are seeds, the monk will say, Kapyang Karohi, right? Those of you who have been Kapyas, you know you are supposed to take the knife and cut it a bit, and then you say Kapyang Bante. Kapyang Karohi means make it allowable. Kapyang is allowable. Karohi is make it allowable. So the Kapya says, Kapyang Bante, I make it allowable, Bante. So it cuts a bit. So with that ritual, a monk can take the fruit. But then these type of precepts are very minor. They're not really important, especially nowadays. I don't believe that this fruit is a living being. I don't believe that the seed is a living being. But then because it is laid down in the in the Vinaya and the monks' precepts. We try to keep it where it is we can. So like for example, in the monks, in our monastery, we do this every day. But sometimes when we go out, there are some people, we go to a Buddhist society or something, people, they don't know how to do it. I don't insist. But sometimes some people misunderstand. They think I don't keep the Vinaya and I don't ask somebody to kapyan karohi. This in the Buddha's teachings is Sila Bhatta Paramasa. Sila Bhatta Paramasa is attachment to Sila and rituals. This ritual is any ritual concerned with the religion. So if you are too attached to this kind of thing also, it's an obstacle because to attain Sotapanna, the first fruit of Aryahood, you have to let go of three factors, Sangyojana. One of them is attachment to rules and rituals. Rules and rituals are useful for a purpose. You must know the purpose. If you don't know the purpose, you simply attach to it every time. There's no point, right? So if you attach to some of these things, even good thing also, when you attach to it, it becomes obstacle. For example, vegetarianism is good for health, but we are too attached to it. It's also, I think, not correct. So, okay. So that is bhava, existence. So now I told you the secret. Bhava is being, this perception that I exist.